Yes, we are having this conversation. No, I am not pulling punches. You're just going to have to sit there and just listen to me. Isn't that fantastic? So, yes, of course, I've decided that we're going to be talking about probably the most controversial thing regarding UK combat robots, the Robot Wars Series 6 final that has been argued with to death by robot combat fans, but also the nostalgia blinded Robot Wars nostalgia bros whose collective memory of Robot Wars is almost exclusively false memories. If you know, you know. How many times have you gone to Reddit and it's been like, I remember when Hypnodisc won Series 4 of Robot Wars and beat Razor, and the fight never happened. People just don't remember the show. They have this like weird collective memory of the show, and it's really funny. But yes, Tornado, Razor, the scaffolding, a lot of very, very, very upset people. Tornado went with something that helped in their victory against Razor. If you haven't watched the fight, then go watch it and then look at the comments and see what I mean. People are still very loud and very, very angry about it. Well over 20 years after it happened. I think 23 years now, because it was 2002. It would have been like late 2002. But yeah, Tornado didn't fucking cheat. Tornado didn't cheat. They were completely within the rules. Like, you can argue maybe it wasn't in the spirit of it, but how the fuck are you going to beat Razor when the last 3 times or 4 times that you've fought against them, you've lost convincingly? I know for the majority of my audience, which isn't massive, but it's combat robot people, right? They already know that Tornado didn't cheat. Like, within the deeper community, like, most of the people believe that Tornado didn't cheat, and it's because they didn't cheat. Like, I shouldn't have to explain it, but it doesn't matter what the deeper combat robot community says, because the very loud majority of people who see Robot Wars as just solely what they remembered in their childhoods, they're going to remember Tornado as this boring box on wheels that beat the most popular and most successful robot in the history of the entire show. Naturally, people are going to be upset about it. I don't think Tornado's scaffolding excursion would have nearly the amount of controversy behind it if it weren't for the fact that it went up against the most popular robot in Robot Wars. Maybe apart from Hypnodisc, but like, Razor were the champions. They were probably going to be champions again if Tornado didn't do this. For the most part, Razor was Tornado's bogey bot. They beat everybody else. They beat Hypnodisc on the way to the grand final that season. Tornado had very convincingly beaten 2-time UK champion Chaos 2 in its extreme incarnation. Like, it was the best box in Robot Wars, but the only thing standing in its way is the robot that's always fucking beaten them. And so naturally, do you want to just lose again without doing anything? Some people do believe that. I've gone into many long-winded arguments with people who genuinely believe that they should have just accepted their defeat and not tried to do anything different, which I cannot, and I absolutely find absolutely absurd. Like, if you're in a grand final and like you've gone to the producers, you've gone to everybody in the set, they've said it's fine, why wouldn't you want to win? Like, you've gone all the way to the grand final and you've decided, no, I don't feel good about this. I'm going to purposely lose. Like, I don't get it. Why would you do that? I can't understand, like, the mental gymnastics and the justification of accepting defeat anyway and not wanting to win in a grand final of a major robot competition where the only thing standing in your way is the robot that's beat you 2 times and is basically the only thing that's ever stopped you winning any major trophy in the competition. Like, I don't get it. I really fucking don't get it. It sucks when the majority of people's memories of something that you're very passionate about, or rather an era of a sport that you're very passionate about, is either their memories of it, which are the majority of the time like things that didn't even happen in the sport, or them being angry that their favorite robot didn't win, or that they were cheated, or whatever. Andrew Marchant recently said in a comment, and I am going to paraphrase it because I can't get the fucking comment up right now, but he basically said it after the 60 millionth post about Tornado cheating, and was just like, why the fuck are we still having this conversation? Everything was within the rules. We did everything beforehand to make sure that we weren't breaking the rules. We were within the maximum size of the rules, which they said in the fucking episode, because a lot of, if not that, a lot of people were saying like, oh, they weren't big enough to be in the pit, which is against the rules. It's like, what rules? What rules? What rules? Show me the rules. Show me the Series 6 rules and tell me where that says that. And like Andrew Marchant says in the fucking episode, it's within the maximum size of the rules, and it's a lot bigger than what can fall in the pit. The only argument that I'm sort of on the fence on is whether or not you believe that all four wheels being suspended on the pit is them being in the pit and being defeated, but that's not a problem for Tornado. That's a problem with the regulations. You can't have a go at Tornado and Andrew Marchant and the gang for playing to those flaws, especially in the context of a grand fucking final, where, like I said, the only thing stopping them is fucking Razor, the most successful and best robot in that era. I don't get it. I don't get why we're still having this conversation. I mean, I know why we're having this conversation. It's because the nostalgic majority are much louder than the very, very niche combat robot fandom. And I just have to accept that. I guess I wanted to make this video to basically be like, oh, here's the place you can go if you still believe Tornado cheated. What the fuck is it going to do? People are still going to believe that they cheated. People are, because I've had these conversations with certain people who are as angry as they were on the day it happened. At the end of the day, all of the people who were involved in the Tornado controversy on who could have been victims of it had nothing to say. They had no gripes, no controversies, no anything. Like, Tornado fought with Razor twice before this final, or one time before this final. They fought against the scaffolding 3 different times, and they were okay with it. And Razor nearly fucking beat them, and they, like, depending on how the judges saw it, it probably would have swung its way. My only guess as to why it's still sticking with people is because the box on wheels won, and not the beautiful beak-like Eagle bot with the 9-ton crusher, which naturally is going to be the more popular design. You know, it's like, would you want Iron or 8 to win a fight against Carbide? Like, no, because Carbide is the more interesting robot. It's the more exciting robot. Like, that's what it ultimately boils down to me. Like, if it was any other, if it was not Razor and if it was someone else, then it wouldn't have nearly as much fanfare about it. But because it was the most popular robot in the entire history of the show, and the robot that most people will remember, barring Hypnodisc, I feel like that's the driving force of it. I don't think it's ever been about like consistency within the rules and how it's, you know, perceived or anything like that. It is almost exclusively down to the fact that the most well-loved and most popular machine in the whole of the series lost in the final in a way that was unconventional at the time. And that's it. It's been 23 fucking years. Let that shit go. Tornado won fair and square. They did nothing wrong. In Series 7, the rule was changed so that Tornado couldn't do any make any defensive changes to the robot, and that was the rule that change that they went with for Series 7. I don't know what the judges or the people creating the regulations reason for changing the rule was, or like rather motivation or driving force of it, but I feel like it was because it had there was such backlash to Tornado winning that they didn't want something like that happening again. And it pains me to talk about this, and the fact that I'm talking about this now still sort of pains me, because Andrew Marchant's a fucking sweetheart. He was so fucking approachable. I met him for the first time in RoboNerd back in 2022, and I get quite nervous around like Roboteers and builders that I either consider like really, really smart people or people who are like legends in my eyes, right? Andrew Marchant was the most approachable person, even though I was still very nervous. Happily took a photo with me, was so humble, so nice to talk to, and had no ego whatsoever. Like, it almost feels like he's talking to a different person than you saw on the show. But even then, like, he's hamming it up for the camera on the show because it's fucking Robot Wars, and most of the audience of Robot Wars is going to be kids who are looking at it and being like, oh, he's a heel. Robot Wars was in its sort of WWE era in the later stages of the classic series anyway. But it pains me because he's so fucking nice, and probably has been so fucking sick of people talking shit about either him or his friend or his teammates or his robot. I don't know how he does it. Like, he's probably gotten used to it by now, but like, fuck me, dude. Andrew Marchant is one of the nicest builders I've ever had the pleasure of meeting, even if it was very brief and I didn't really get to speak to him that much because of how nervous I was. I had to have a friend sort of speak for me and hold the majority of the conversation, but what a nice fucking dude. Andrew, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry I'm bringing this shit up again. I really am. If you see Andrew Marchant at a pub, go buy him a pint. On me. Please. Because he fucking deserves it. Because he's a fucking genius, and he thought outside the box and benefited perfectly from thinking outside the box. And I think that's what we should remember the Series 6 final by. It won't happen, but maybe someone can dream. There we go, that's my extended rant of the Series 6 final. Something that I have no reason to rant about, but this is bot takes after all, so I have to talk about something. Yeah, subscribe to CJC as per usual. Robot Wars Retrospective Series 2 is coming soon. I am working on it. I'm very proud of what I've done with it so far, and I think you'll enjoy it when it eventually comes out. But it's gonna be a while!